You're watching memorable entertainment television. MeTV Tri-State.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vanderburgh County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
Tri-State Voices, an open discussion with area leaders on issues affecting communities throughout the Tri-State. Now, here's your host, Mike Woods.
Good morning. Welcome to Tri-State Voices. Every week, Tri-State Voices interviews a community leader about issues that are important to all of us. Hi, I'm your host, Mike Woods. Tri-State Voices is jointly sponsored by WTSN, the City County Observer, and my office, Woods & Woods. Today, we're honored to have William Billy D. Garrett, the Republican candidate for Knight Township trustee. Mr. Garrett's been actively involved in our community for almost 40 years. During that time, he's worked with both Republicans and Democrats. He recently won his Republican primary with an astounding 75% of the vote. His experience includes managing the C.K. Newsom Center, the Carver Ridley Roller Dome. He's a graduate of H&R Block Tax School, Ivy Tech Real Estate School. He's a CNN and an Air Force veteran. Mr. Garrett, part of the job of the trustee, I understand, is helping people that are just running some kind of terrible jam all of a sudden. Like, what kind of situations do people end up at the trustee's office over?
Well, basically, it's kind of a stopgap program. You may have a gas and light bill that's so high you can't pay it. You may have a water bill, fuel expenses. It's just something that kind of pops up where you need a little extra help to get through that situation. Most of the time it's gas and light bill, water bill, and mostly rent. And sometimes also you need help with food.
Okay, so it's not really designed to be a permanent program. Like people get on, say, Social Security disability, and frequently that's a permanent thing. They're permanently disabled, or maybe they're on food stamps. They're going to need those a long time. But is the trustee's office more designed to be kind of a stopgap until they can get on a permanent program?
Yes, it's basically a stopgap program to help you. It's an emergency situation. You have an emergency, you need help now, and sometimes you don't qualify for other programs. So the trustees kind of come alongside and help you through that emergency.
So it could be like somebody's, one day that things were going fine, the next day it's bad. Like one day they've got a home, next day it's burned down or it's flooded. Or maybe it's a woman that's had to leave her home because of abuse.
Yes, all those situations may occur, and that's why the trustee office is so important, because every now and then everyone needs help. That's just the way of life.
Unfortunate fact of life. Well, then is a big part of your job then as a trustee to send people to other programs. I think you'd mentioned to me one time about United Way programs.
Correct. My philosophy is you just can't tell people I can't help you. You need to have other option for people, like the United Way or other programs. And I've been in the community over 30 years, almost 40 years, and I'm familiar with other programs, other organizations, and that's why I would be a good fit for the trustee's office because of my past experience.
Now, I guess the United Way programs, there's a whole bunch of different programs, everything from Red Cross to Albion Fellows Bacon Center and all the rest of them under the United Way umbrella. That's
what the United Way usually is. It has an umbrella of all the organizations that can help people in emergency situations.
All right, so somebody could come into your office, and if they don't qualify for funds from the Knight Township trustee, or maybe the trustee's office low on funds, whatever, you feel like in a lot of cases you could get a hold of United Way and find some way to get them over the hump until things calm down?
Right, I've worked with United Way for the last 19 years when it comes to helping kids with school supplies, tennis shoes. So I've been working with the United Way for at least the last 19 years, and I have a pretty good relationship with the United Way.
Okay. Now, one of the things you've stressed is that as your work on the last 20 years or so as a minister and many other things you've done, you've become familiar with a lot of different programs.
Quite a few programs, because when you're a minister, people come to you for all kind of situations, so you have to be ready to help in all situations. And I've had my license since '97, so I've had quite a bit of experience with helping people.
Okay. You've stressed before that everyone who goes to the trustee's office ought to be treated with dignity. How do you balance that, treating somebody with dignity, but yet you can't just give money to everybody? You need to know for sure it's somebody that has a legitimate and honest need. I mean, you just don't want to be supporting alcoholics or something. Well, how do you balance that, treating them with dignity, but yet find out enough that you know, do they really need help? In other words, avoiding the scammers.
Well, that's the beauty of it. You have to live in Knight Township to be able to get help from the Knight Township trustee. And I've been there almost 25 years, so I know most everybody over there. So if you come there, basically, I would usually know most of the people. And second of all, you can't give everybody help, but you can't get everybody hope. So that's my main thing. If I can't help you, at least when you leave there, you can feel like I've given you hope to get some help somewhere else.
Give them some sense of direction about where they can go?
Right, correct. Give them some direction, not just send them out and say, well, I can't help you. You got to have compassion for people so that when they leave there, you can say, well, Mr. Garrett, he tried to help me. He did all he can, but now I have hope. I can go somewhere else and find some help that will help my family.
Okay. Are there companies and places that will donate things like shoes or clothes or school supplies that you could reach out to help the people in Knight Township?
Correct. I've had sponsors for the last 19 years when I do my back-to-school rally, and we help people with clothes and shoes, and we also help them with lunch. And so I've had a relationship with these corporate sponsors for the last 19 years, and even before that, that they would be willing to help. And you have to be out there in the community. You can't just all of a sudden appear. But I've been here, like I say, in the community almost 40 years, helping people with different programs.
Now, how much of the trustee's office has to do with emergency medical prescriptions? For example, if somebody, they had some insulin, they lost their prescription, got stolen, whatever, and they don't know where else to turn. Do you guys provide emergency prescriptions?
That's one of the guidelines that you, the trustee have. They can help you with medical, such as insulin, medical costs, burial costs. So that's one of the things that they are supposed to help you with, and that answer is yes.
Okay, so then if somebody came up to you and they didn't have, they lost their insulin, I mean, just it vanished, all right, and maybe it's a Saturday afternoon, now would you just help them enough for about 3 or 4 days or something until the work week's going and they can contact somebody else, or how long are they able to get the medical supplies from you guys?
Well, see, basically that would be a doctor's decision, how long the prescription would run for. The doctor could give you a prescription for 2 or 3 refills, 4 refills, but that would be a doctor. But the basic thing, you would try to get them as many refills as possible. That would be your job. Instead of getting them 1 refill, maybe you can get them 3 refills, and that would give them time to get on their feet.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm saying, if obviously there's a limited amount of money at Knight Township Trustee's office, so if somebody comes in there, would you give them enough, pay for enough insulin for 30 days or 60 days, or just pay for it for 15 days and say, hey, see if you can get on some other program after that and then come back and see me 15 days, or how do you deal with that?
Well, my decision would be to help them as much as possible. If I could get it for 30 days, then I would get it for 30 days. But my thing is to help the people as much as possible. Not the least amount of help you can give them, but the most help you can give them.
Okay, and I guess obviously there's a limited amount of funds. I mean, every government agency anymore has a limited amount of funds. How do you determine from one person to the next how much money you should help how much you should help this person versus how much you help that person?
Well, I'm quite sure everything is based on income. I'm not the trustee now, but I've been associated with people who had to go to the trustee, and they said you have to based on income, how many bills you have, your expenses. And that's how you decide how much help you get and who can help and who cannot be helped. So basically it's how much income you have, how much expenses you have, and maybe how long have you been out of work. All those factors must be factored into the situation or the equation.
I think you told me one time that you thought you could probably get some doctors to donate an hour or so a week, so on a kind of emergency basis where you get to send somebody over there quickly just to get an evaluation.
Well, you would have to look at your community. What is available in Vandenberg County? There's all kind of programs, all kind of people who want to help if you go out there and look for them. The bottom line is the trustee got to be out there in the community. Nobody should have to ask, who is the trustee? If the trustee is in the community, putting all these together beforehand, then that's how you help people. You got to have a network of volunteers, a network of people who really want to help.
Okay. It seems like a big part of the trustee's job is to get people signed up for programs they may be eligible for. For example, somebody comes in, they don't have money for medical care, but they might be eligible for Medicaid, but they've never signed up. In the same way, maybe they're out of food, but they didn't even realize they might be eligible for food stamps. So I guess it's a big part of the trustee's job, just looking at the person saying, hey, they may be eligible for this program, they may be eligible for that program.
That's correct. And a lot of time, just the opposite. A lot of these people are not eligible for Medicaid and Medicare. That's where you have your challenge. The people that are not eligible for these programs. It's easy to say, well, if you're eligible for Medicaid and Medicare, this is how you sign up. But here comes the challenge. When you find out that they are not eligible, that's why the trustee office is so important. Because like I said, those are the people that fall through the cracks. Those are the people that you must help immediately.
I know I've had so many people that have come to our office over the years and didn't even realize they'd be eligible for various government programs. They just don't know about it. And so many people that they can't read, they can't write, they don't know how to use the internet, they just don't know where to turn.
Right, that's true. And I would say the trustee, they must know, and his staff and the trustee board must know. Everybody must have all that knowledge to help as much as possible. And it's simple. It means that you have to put in more time. The trustee's office is not a 9-to-5 job. It's a 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year job, because people always need help. When the 5 o'clock comes, when you get off at 5 o'clock and I get off at 5 o'clock, people are still hurting. So you must be willing to work past 5. It's not a 9-to-5 job.
Can the trustee's office be expanded to the use of volunteers?
Sure, it can be expanded in many ways. Volunteers, and sometimes you just need to ask. A lot of people say, well, there's not enough money. Well, if there's not enough money, you need to devise a plan to get enough money, because everything is going up except most people's salary. Food is going up, rent is going up, gas and light is going up, gasoline is going up. Everything is going up except people's resources. So you got to have a plan. If I need more revenue, I've got to get more revenue to help more people.
You know, Knight Township Trustee's Office has had, unfortunately, kind of an interesting history. You had Jim Price, who was in there, who did, I think everybody agreed, did a really good job. He lost an election to somebody that ended up being not only incompetent but dishonest. Linda Durham did a tremendous amount of damage to the office. And then when she was thrown out of office, of course, Catherine Martin came in. Has Catherine Martin restored the dignity and the trust of that office?
Not in my opinion. First of all, we still don't have a volunteer fire department. They mismanaged the money so bad, over $128,000 was misappropriated. So now we don't have a volunteer fire department. And they was like family. The City of Evansville Fire Department does an outstanding job. But here's my point. If the volunteer fire department was not necessary, why did we have it? So it must have been necessary. So now when I go to bed at night, in the back of my head, if I have a fire, maybe if I had a volunteer fire department, it may make a difference. And I knew it would make a difference because that's why we had them.
Is the fire department that Knight Township has today as good as the fire department they had when it was volunteer?
Well, we had the City of Evansville covers our district now. And they do a great job. But the bottom line is, I think what happened was they mismanaged so much money, misappropriated so much money. Now they kind of gun shy. So now they are holding on to the money with a tight fist, and people are suffering. We need to get new people in there, new direction, new staff, a new trustee, so we can take this stranglehold off of the funds so people can be helped.
Well, do you think it would be possible to reinstate the volunteer fire department, or is that just a lost cause?
You just have to look at it. I have no information. It would be a great idea to kind of study that, though, because, like I said, they was family. They would come through the neighborhood, and the kids would get a chance to get on the fire trucks, and it was just a beautiful thing. So I would love to look at that, but like I said, it's a big project, so I wouldn't want to say that I could do that.
Because as I understand it, the equipment that the volunteer fire department had, it's been dispersed now, been sold, gone to other fire departments, the city or other volunteer fire departments. And the real estate's pretty much gone. So to start that thing from scratch, which is what you'd be doing, seems like that'd be a big project, to put it mildly.
It would be a big project, but that's a CIP project. capital improvement project. I've never met with those before at the Sick and Nuisance Center, the Rhododendron. But look at it this way. When it first started, it started from scratch. It didn't just poof and appear. It started from scratch. So if you can start from scratch one time, maybe you can start from scratch again.
Okay. Right now, would you think that the guidelines that the Knight Township Trustee's Office uses to help people, are they too strict or too rigid?
I think it's a two-tier problem. First of all, the people that are there now, they are so afraid that they're going to be looked at as stealing money that they put a chokehold on the guidelines. So I think what you need is a new attitude in the trustee's office. You need an attitude that we are here to help the people. We're not here to have a surplus so we can look good. We are here to spend the revenue on the people, not spend the money on personal items. And that's what we need, a new attitude in the trustee's office. Take this stranglehold off of the revenue. Let's help the people that need help.
I guess you're saying they're kind of gun shy because Linda Durham obviously was not only stealing money, but wasting too much money. Do you think they've swung too far the other way?
They've swung way too far the other way. Everyone that comes to me, their main complaint is we can't get help. It's too hard to get help. You just can't get the money away, but you can't put a stranglehold on the revenue. The revenue is for the people. It's not our money. It's my tax dollar also. You know, I want to see people help. That's why I pay taxes. It's not for us to sit there on top of the people. Well, people are suffering. We're sitting here on top of money, refusing to help people, and people are suffering because they are gun shy, because they misappropriated so much money. We need a new attitude, a new change in the trustee's office so people can be helped and not continue to suffer.
Okay. Would it be possible, I mean, if you're going to help more people, you're going to have more revenue coming in. If you're going to give away more, you're going to have more coming in. Are there any ways you could increase the revenue in Knight Township?
Well, first of all, you got to ask. You got a county council, you got a county commissioner. You have to ask, you know, and I work with a lot of people over the last 30 years because I've been a Democrat, a Republican, I've been an independent, and I've worked with people on both sides of the aisle. So I've had a relationship with most of those people that are there. You have to ask. And then you have to sit down and devise a plan to where you can raise more revenue. You just can't say we don't have enough money to help you. People don't want to hear that. People want to know, how can you help me? How not can you help me? And that's what we need to do.
Well, I guess the city is going through its budget hearings right now. The county budget last year, I think, was cut from about $53 million to somewhere around $48 million. I mean, what do you think the chances are getting more money out of the county council or city council?
You have to ask. The chances are good. Most of the people on the county council, and I can say all the people and the county commissioner, they are there to help people, not harm people. Just how you get it, it's hard work. What you have to do, I've said it before, it's not a 9-to-5 job. When 5 o'clock comes, you need to go into second mode. Hey, it's time for me to sit down here and see, how can I improve the Knight Township revenue and programs? I may have to stay there till 11 or 12 o'clock at night. I may not go home that night, but if that's what it takes, that's what you got to do.
Do you think there'd be any merit to having any kind of fundraisers or seeking more donations?
That's one option, but there are many options. You know, there are many options in the trustee's office. You may have to have fundraisers. You may have to have people donate to the trustee's office. You may have to look at waste. You may have waste in the trustee's office. I'm not saying you have waste, but you can always find something to cut. I know in my budget, I'm always cutting things out because I look at my budget at home, and there are some things that I thought I needed. After I cut them out, I decided that I didn't need them.
You talked before about having grants, that there's a lot of grants out there for all kinds of things. You have some experience in applying for grants, is that right?
I've been writing grants for this organization I'm with. I won't mention their name because I don't want to mix that with politics.
Sure.
With 501c3. I've been writing grants for this organization for the last 19 years, and I'm good at it, very good at it.
Well, there's kind of a talent to that. I mean, there's a certain way you got to write the grant to get it approved.
It took a while for me to get the hang of it. Like I said, I've been doing it 19 years. My first couple of years, it was a headache, but now it's become more smooth. But you got to stay on top of it because the grant guidelines are constantly changing. So you got to stay up on them. Sometimes I stay up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning writing grants, but that's what it takes.
Okay. Well, what kind of grants might be available out there for the help people in Knight Township?
Well, they got all kinds of grants. They got government grants. Someone asked me the other day, they have Homeland Security, they have grants. Not saying that the trustees office qualify for those grants, but Homeland Security, they have grants for certain entities. I don't know if we qualify for that, but the bottom line, I can tell you this, I stay up all night trying to find them because that's what I do. When I do something, I do it 110%. Never have do anything.
What is available in Knight Township trustee? If somebody just shows up at the trustee's office and just suppose it's a mother with 3 kids and she is just simply out of money and out of food, how can you help her?
Well, basically, they used to give food vouchers. I had one young lady come to me and said, well, she went to get a food voucher, and they told her they don't do food vouchers anymore. And I asked her, why wouldn't they do food vouchers? And she said, nobody could tell her why. So that's what I'm talking about now. When people leave there, you need to leave there with hope. If they couldn't give her a food voucher, they should have sent her somewhere where she could have got a food voucher. And that's one of the things that they help you with: food, gas and light bill, rent. Those are the biggies that come up in your life that you need help with.
I guess I'm not familiar with this. What's the difference between a food voucher and food stamps? Are they the same thing, just a different name, or they're different?
A food voucher is basically, it's a sheet of paper that says you can go to the store and get a certain amount of food, sign your name, and it's a voucher. It's one time. It's not a program. Okay. It's a voucher.
And then the store sends a bill to the trustee's office, and the trustee's office pays that bill.
Right.
Okay. All right. Why do people go to the trustee's office rather than just go down to the Civic Center?
Well, basically, a lot of times you go to the trustee's office because you don't qualify. You'd be surprised how many working poor people we have. They're working, but they just don't have enough money to make it through the week or to make it through the month. They don't qualify for food stamps. They don't qualify for other programs because they're the working poor. Those are the people, when they come there, those are the people that need to be treated with dignity because they are working, they're trying to make it, but they may be $100 over the guideline for other programs. So that's where the trustee can step in and be a stopgap. You'd be surprised how many working poor people we have in Vandenberg County.
Do you think the trustee's office is less intimidating than the Civic Center? You know, you go down to the Civic Center, they got metal detectors, and you got to show IDs, you got to take off your belt to get through the metal detectors and all the rest of that. And to a lot of people, that's a pretty intimidating process.
I don't go because it's intimidating. I used to pay my water bill down there. And after I had to take off my belt, my suspenders, I like suspenders. You know what I did? I made my water bill direct pay out of my checking account because I was intimidated. So if I was intimidated, I'm quite sure other people are intimidated also.
Well, particularly if you got somebody that's down on their luck, they feel kind of beat up, they've got a mental illness or something, that whole atmosphere is kind of, it's pretty strong, pretty strong.
Yeah, when you first walk in, you meet a sheriff deputy. And they're friendly people. But the bottom line is, that's law enforcement. You know, I don't have any reenacting with law enforcement unless it's through politics, because I don't do anything that I got to go to the sheriff's office for. But when you go down there, the first thing you see is law enforcement. So that probably would be kind of intimidating.
Well, it's just like going into an airport if you're going to go on an airplane. Same thing, you get searched down and all the rest of it.
Right,
so
correct.
Something else. And then you've got a certain number of people, like they got pacemakers and things like that. I don't think those machines are going to be pacemakers, and they're certainly let you walk around, but a lot of people are just hesitant to go there. Right.
It's an atmosphere where if you go, basically if you go down there, you go into the courthouse. That's what most people go to the Civic Center for. You got to go there to get to the courthouse. So when you go down there, if you're not used to that atmosphere, I mean, I have no reason to go to the courthouse. I'm never in court for anything. So I got to go down there, and I'm a person that's trying to get help, and the first thing I see is a sheriff deputy, and like I say, they are friendly people though. And I've never been to the courthouse, so I'm saying, whoa, maybe I made a bad mistake trying to come here to get help.
Yeah, of course, you know, in my business, I'm over at the courthouse all the time. Been going there 30 years. So to me, it's no big deal. But I've noticed, I've watched people that come in there, and some of them are really fearful. You can tell it's an intimidating process.
Right.
You have, one of the things the trustee's office has to do is take care of burials for people who don't have the money, and frequently that's an emergency thing. Somebody's not only confronted with a shocking loss of a loved one with no warning, but they also don't know which way to turn because they call a funeral home. Funeral home obviously wants money up front. They don't have any money.
That's correct.
Where does the trustee's office come into play?
That is one of the benefits that the trustees in their guidelines can provide with funeral costs and burial costs. And the average funeral, I would imagine, would cost anywhere from $10,000 up, because I've had to bury people in my family. So they can help with the trustee. And I have a relationship with most of the funeral homes, especially in the inner city, where the costs are a little cheaper, but yet and still, it can be devastating. You're trying to bury a loved one, you don't have enough money, and all that's get put on you, and where can you go? Your friendly trustee.
Yeah, and a lot of these people are just, they're in shock, really.
Right.
Let me ask something. The Republican Party rarely is able to attract African Americans either as candidates or as voters. Tell me just in your own words why you feel comfortable in the Republican Party.
Well, it made me feel comfortable. I mean, they actively seek out African American candidates. They seek out African American voters. Since I've been in Vandenberg County, they must be doing something right, because I started out a Democrat, now I'm a Republican. So they're doing something correctly.
You had told me that the Democrats talk a good game, but the Republicans deliver. What do you mean by that?
Well, basically, they give jobs. The job I got was under a Republican mayor. My older friends, they've gotten jobs under a Republican mayor. I was with the Democrats over 20 years, never got a job. First job I got with a Republican mayor. The proof was in the pudding.
Felt like you're being taken for granted in a way.
Well, you said that, but...
Well, that's what some African Americans say about the Democrat Party, and just like Right to Life says that about the Republicans, feel like they're taken for granted.
I've heard that also.
We're getting kind of short of time. Just tell me in your own words why you would like to be the next Knight Township trustee, and why you feel like you should be the next Knight Township trustee.
Well, first of all, the number one thing, I want to restore dignity to the trustee's office. When someone come in there, they should be treated with dignity. They've already established that they have an emergency or they wouldn't be there. Number two, someone has said that they want to eliminate the trustee's office. Well, if you eliminate the trustee's office, you eliminate hope for the little people, for the poor people. That's what it's for, poor relief. So I want to restore dignity, expand the program. Let's help more people. Let's take the stranglehold off of the revenue at the trustee's office. Let's not be afraid to help the people because someone has mismanaged money. We need a new attitude in the trustee's office. We need a new trustee's office, that a new trustee person that can come in there and let the people know I'm there for them. We cannot be afraid to help the people. That's why I want to be elected trustee, so that when you come in the community, when somebody asks, who is the trustee, they should know that's William Billy D. Garrett. If you ask now who's the trustee office, nobody knows who the trustee is because they are not in the community. Let's elect someone who has been in the community, will stay in the community, and let's get some people in there with a new attitude and a new direction. I want to be the next trustee of Knight Township, and I thank you for your vote in November the 4th.
Mr. Garrett, I appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week for another one of our Tri-State guests.
Broke the story on local homestead tax credit fiasco. Expose the Evansville Redevelopment Commission excessive spending habits.
Your community watchdog. CityCountyObserver.com is your online community newspaper dedicated to the progress of Evansville and Vandenberg County. We're a nonpartisan publication providing insight into political issues and events that shape our community. We are a watchdog for you, the citizen. Check us out online, city-countyobserver.com. That's city-countyobserver.com.
You're watching memorable entertainment television. Me TV Tri-State.